I had no idea what life had for me that morning as I tended to the flowers in my garden. My hands were buried in the soil, inspecting the roots of the saplings I had just planted. Everything was okay, just like every other day, until a sudden ache surged through my back. I was completely unaware of what was going to happen, especially since my step-nephew Liam was just there by accident. My garden had always been my safe haven, my retreat. After my husband Robert went away, it was the one location that actually healed my soul. Everything felt different that day. Though I was 67, but people would often ask Evelyn, "How do you look so young at your age?" Actually, there was no huge secret. I just took care of myself with a balanced diet, regular exercise, and a commitment to never lose the young lady within me. But I'll admit that loneliness had sunk deep into my spirit. My beauty may have continued to attract attention, but there was an emptiness within me that I couldn't overcome. As I was situating one of the saplings, a sharp pain shot through my back. It was so abrupt and unexpected that I dropped everything I was carrying. For a brief while, I closed my eyes, attempting to breathe through the pain, but it did not help. The pain crept from my shoulder to my back, rendering me immobile. "Evelyn, are you okay?" Liam's voice suddenly came to me. Liam. My step-nephew is 22 years old and has broad shoulders, a muscular frame, and the kind of face you see on magazine covers. His blonde hair glistened in the sunlight, and his piercing eyes were fixed on me with concern. He possessed a natural charm that drew everyone's attention, even though he didn't appear to recognize it himself. And suddenly, all of that youthful enthusiasm seemed to be aimed solely at assisting me. "My back," I said, pointing to the area where the agony was most severe. "Something is wrong. I cannot move. Are you prepared for this? Because this is not just any narrative. This is a trip when boundaries blur, emotions become entangled, and confessions echo like silent cries. Every moment may awaken something within you, challenging the boundaries of what you thought you knew. If this sounds like your kind of narrative, please subscribe to my channel and enable notifications to support me." Liam crouched near me. He said, "Let me help." When his large hands reached my shoulders, an involuntary shudder ran through me. "I'll give you a massage. It generally helps," he said. I lacked the strength to protest. I was prepared to do anything to relieve my discomfort. But what really surprised me was how his touch affected me. Liam put his hands on my back and began softly pressing. I have to admit, I had not felt this close in years. His fingers were strong yet surprisingly delicate. As they glided over my strained muscles, the pain subsided, leaving behind a strange warmth that permeated throughout me. It was as if the lonely woman within me had suddenly awoken. I exhaled perhaps a little too deeply. "Liam." I began to speak, but the words caught in my throat. I couldn't finish. He didn't say anything but continued massaging his hands, flowing over my back in a way that made me hyper-aware of every touch. I sensed a shift at that moment, and it scared and excited me in ways I hadn't expected. Liam continued to work his hands across my back, steadily and deliberately, until he paused and drew forward to look at me. "Evelyn, this is quite horrible," he stated, his voice serious and concerned. "We can't fix it here in the garden. Let's get you inside near the fireside. The warmth will help, and I'll get some cream to put onto your back. We need to take care of this." I hesitated for a second, but the pain forced me to make a decision. I nodded, and he helped me get to my feet. He said, "Be careful. Take it slowly." As his powerful hands supported me, there was something very soothing about the way he hugged me. I hadn't felt this closeness in years. When we got inside, the roaring fire cast a warm, golden warmth over the room. The heat wrapped around me like a blanket, immediately relieving some of the stress in my body. Liam swiftly put a blanket across the floor and motioned for me to lie down. "You should stretch out your back in a more comfortable position." He continued, his gaze serious, but with a hint of reluctance. "I have some cream that will assist release." those muscles. I lay down, feeling the fire's warmth penetrate into me as Liam rubbed the cream between his hands to warm it up. The first contact of his hands on my shoulders caused me to exhale a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "Simply relax," he urged softly, "and you'll feel better in no time." But each touch of his hands did more than just relieve my bodily anguish. It was stirring up something inside me that I thought I'd buried long ago. As his fingertips went down my back, my thoughts got clearer and more disorganized. Liam's touch was more than just healing, it was waking. I hesitated inside for a second, but the pain was too intense, so I gave in immediately. Liam gently grasped my arm and helped me get to my feet. He said, "Take it slow and be careful." When his powerful hands curled nearly entirely around me, I felt strangely secure. This young man's protectiveness brought me a connection I hadn't felt in years. When we entered the house, the fireplace's flames cast a lovely orange glow over the room. The crackling of the fire and the heat that filled the room immediately soothed me. Liam swiftly put a blanket across the floor and motioned for me to lie down. "You need to relax your back in a more comfortable position," he murmured, his eyes still stern but flickering with something more gentle. "I also packed some cream, which will help soften those muscles." I lay down, letting the warmth wrap around my body, as Liam squeezed the cream into his hand and rubbed it between his fingers to warm it. The first contact of his fingertips on my shoulder caused me to involuntarily draw a breath. He whispered softly, "You'll feel better now." But with each touch I could sense something altering. His hands were not only providing me with physical satisfaction, they were also reawakening emotions within me that I had suppressed for many years. As his fingertips glided over my back, my thoughts calmed, but also became confused. Liam's touch was gradual yet steady, reaching deeper in both physical and emotional ways. "It's no surprise your muscles are so tight," he continued with a pleasant tone that piqued my interest. "Evelyn, you're taking on too much. You must consider yourself in addition to the garden and household." I tried to explain that the garden is my therapy, Liam. Without it, I know he interrupted his hand, easing slightly. "But you need more than just a garden. You also need people who care about you." His comments warmed me more than the fire, but they also made me feel apprehensive. I wasn't sure what he meant, or maybe I did, but I didn't want to accept it. At that point, his hands moved slightly lower on my back to continue the massage. The warmth of his touch relaxed the tight areas, but it was also producing a new type of knot. Being that close to him felt both comforting and terrifying. "Liam," I eventually replied, my voice trembling. "You're very helpful. Yet I understand." He continued, his voice slower this time. "But everything will be fine. Simply relax, Evelyn." I sensed that his words were more than just counsel. His presence grew closer with each passing second, much like the flames of the fire. Liam's hands moved lightly down my back as each muscle loosened under his touch. A peculiar sense of discomfort overtook me. His warmth grew deeper slowly, but determined. In that time my thoughts began to cloud and an internal conflict arose. "Stay cool, Evelyn," I reminded myself, but I couldn't seem to control it. As his warm hands slid lower and closer to my shoulders, my heart began to race. On one side, Liam's proximity, and on the other, the boundaries that had been established over the years. Suddenly, the voice within me screamed loudly, "He's your stepnephew, Evelyn. You should not be doing this." The fireplace had filled the room with a lovely glow, but after a while, the heat became oppressive. When I saw Liam wipe the sweat from his brow, my gaze was drawn to him. Suddenly, he pulled up the bottom of his shirt, removing it. His strong, sun-kissed torso shone in the firelight, almost like a sculpture. It's difficult to put into words how I felt at that moment. I hadn't felt so connected to someone in years. "This heat from the fire is too much," he exclaimed, dropping his shirt to the floor. His tone was nonchalant, yet the depth of his gaze held me still. Then his eyes met mine. "Evelyn, you're becoming incredibly heated. he murmured softly but firmly. "You'll feel worse if you keep wearing that clothing. Allow me to help you." My words became caught in my throat. I considered pushing back, but the sweat on my skin and the room temperature had become uncomfortable. Slowly I nodded. Liam crouched beside me and reached for the hem of my shirt. I could feel his warm fingertips against my skin. The touch made me shudder. Yet it was not chilly, it was a type of heat. He delicately pulled up my shirt, gently, sliding it over my hair before removing it and setting it aside. At that time the air between us became thicker. His gaze stayed on me for a moment before he quickly turned away. Still, I didn't need to see his face to understand the turmoil those eyes caused within me. "Evelyn." Liam replied, his voice deeper and softer than before. "Are you feeling better now?" "I think so," I said, my voice shaking. My words could not conceal the turmoil within me. It was not only the heat, Liam's presence was giving me a nice feeling. "Come on," he urged, extending his hand. "Let's sit on the couch." "You're uneasy here." I took his hand. When our fingers connected, I felt an electricity that I hadn't felt in years. His powerful arms lifted me to my feet and held me firmly. For a little period, Liam's protective nature felt so evident, so natural, that my anxieties began to fade. When we arrived to the couch, he gently seated me. He sat alongside me right away, but made sure there was enough room between us. Nonetheless, the tension in the room remained constant. There was something unspoken between us that was difficult, if not impossible, to put into words. I tried not to get caught in the depth of his gaze, fighting to keep the conflict inside me at bay. But one thing was obvious. Tonight, it was nearly difficult to deny the weight of our emotions. After we sat down, the crackling of the fire added to the silence between us. My heart was racing in my chest, and I could practically hear it. Liam sat next to me, and his presence, even his breath, affected me. Being that close to him made me feel both terrified and yet calm. I turned my head for a second, and our gazes connected. His glance conveyed something, whether curiosity or something deeper. In that closeness, it was hard to ignore the expression in his eyes, which was deep, passionate, and also tender. At that point, it felt as if the world had stopped. Liam softly held out his hand for mine. When his fingers contacted mine, I shivered. He wasn't saying anything yet. The stillness was full with meaning. His stare remained on my lips for a second, and then everything shifted. He leaned slowly towards me. He was so close. His breath felt warm on my skin. The voices within me ceased. There was no more right or wrong. Liam's eyes and his proximity to me were all that mattered at that time. I closed my eyes and leaned in little towards him. When our lips touched it, it felt as if time had stopped. The initial touch was light-sensitive and inquisitive, but within seconds, that tenderness transformed into something more fierce. His warmth, his breath, and the sensation of his lips, everything appeared distant from reality. In that instant, the loneliness, anxiety, and need that had built up inside me seemed to merge with him. This wasn't simply a kiss. It was the culmination of years of suppressed feelings, desires, and possibly a hidden link. As the kiss progressed, his hands moved lightly across my face. My hands immediately clasped his shoulders, the heat from his flesh radiating through my palms. Finally, we both drew away simultaneously. When our eyes met, our breathing was erratic, yet our link felt stronger than ever. Was there anything to say? I was unsure, but one thing was certain. Nothing about our relationship would ever be the same after tonight. After the kiss, I realized I was out of breath. My heart felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. When I peered into Liam's eyes, I saw a question and a strong yearning. In that instant, my mind went utterly silent. My emotions and body were making the judgments right now. "Liam," I replied, my voice unsteady but my emotions obvious. "Yes, I want you. I want you." The words left my mouth and something inside me snapped. The loneliness and concerns I'd held for years appeared to vanish in an instant. All that mattered was to be present with him. In this time, Liam's face revealed a momentary flash of surprise, followed by a gradual smile. His eyes matched the warmth that surrounded me. "I want you too, Evelyn," he replied, his voice both sweet and forceful. "I've tried to hold back, but I can't do it anymore. I want you. I want to be with you." His words flowed through me like waves, each one striking my heart. Liam gently caressed my face in his hands and stepped closer to me again. This time, there was no hesitancy. We knew exactly what we wanted. When his lips contacted mine again, the intensity of our emotions was beyond description. This moment marked a turning point for me. Liam's presence, warmth, and words. Despite my misgivings, I had no intention of stopping anything. Right now, I hadn't stopped anything. I had entirely surrendered to the flow of my feelings. Liam was sleeping next to me, breathless and tangled up in each other, with only a thin sheet covering us with a slight smile on my lips. I looked up at the ceiling and saw our shirts and trousers spread on the floor. The night felt really weird. It was like a dream. Liam turned to face me, that seductive smile still on his lips. His hand lightly brushed my cheek, and his thumb briefly grazed my lips. "Noria," he whispered, his voice low and quiet. I wouldn't change this moment for anything. I turned to him full of mixed emotions and thanked him. "Thank you." "Liam, I haven't felt so lonely in a long time. What about you? Are you this large, youthful, and handsome? I absolutely enjoy it." I had no intention of concealing the sincerity and gratitude in my eyes. Liam's lips curved forward, revealing his typical beautiful smile. "Evelyn, do you realize how beautiful you are?" he said. "And I am not only talking about your appearance. It feels completely different to be around you. Your kindness, sincerity, everything. You make me feel good about myself." I couldn't take my eyes away from him. His words, his touch. Everything was so real and profound that I wanted to have this night in my memory forever. "I needed you, Liam," I replied honestly. "And you were here. I couldn't ask for more." Liam grinned faintly as he brushed his fingertips over the sheet's edges. "I'll be coming here frequently, Evelyn. From now on, I will be there whenever you need me." He spoke with determination and sincerity. "Just to see you. Just giving you these moments." In that moment, I felt as if a fresh door was opening in my life. The heaviness and loneliness of the past were gradually leaving me. Having Liam by my side gave me a profound sense of trust and tranquility. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and edged closer to his warmth. This night was just the beginning for me, the first steps on a new journey. And knowing I wasn't alone anymore was more important than anything. I hope you enjoyed my narrative. It was a wonderful journey, and I'm delighted to share it with you. If you want to hear more tales like these, remember to subscribe. If you set on notifications, you'll be the first to know when a new episode is released. Also, your likes and comments mean everything to me. Hearing your thoughts and feelings really drives me. Your support enables me to write more. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the future story.